This spot has changed so much in 5 years that I spent 5 minutes looking for it. Over the last couple of months, it's been brought into question whether or not I reclamate because we don't show it on camera. Reclamation is simply the process of fixing up the ground after you've dug it to extract gold and minerals from the soil. It is your legal responsibility in Australia and in many places around the world to reclamate. And today's video, if I can get through these, and today's video is about showing you guys a series of places we have worked from all the way back when I first started the channel up until modern times to show you how I reclamated, what the ground looks like today, and how to do it properly. And what I think you're going to discover is that you're going to see very little evidence of anyone prospecting in the areas that we've been working, but a major change in what the creek structure looks like due to erosion from natural flooding. Senor Gadsden,
Sweat hat.
we're in a spot you have never been to before.
No, not this spot.
I've worked this spot extensively for about 6 months. Where was I working?
I don't know. I can't really see anything.
Okay, cool. You're standing on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I ran a series of river sluices and panning videos in this particular spot. The links for those videos are in the description below. And this was the hole that I dug out right here. The flood debris behind me should give you an indication of how hard this creek floods. More often than not, if you dig a hole within the waterline of a creek, the very next flood, it will get covered over. All I did in this case was put the large stones back in place. And since then, the creek has come along and filled it up with silt and other debris. And lots of leaves. By the end of this video, we're actually going to show you how to reclamate a hole. We don't have any holes currently open, so we're going to try and find someone else's high banker hole to fix. That way it'll give you an idea of how we go about it so that you can do it in your holes, or if you see someone else's workings that are left open, you can do it to theirs. We felt obligated to make this video because the question had come up of if we're legal, if we're doing everything to the letter of the law. And I had to really reevaluate, were we doing everything correctly? And we've spent the last month, Gadsy and I, going around and looking at what we've done. For the most part, I think we've done a pretty good job. But there are definitely some places that we can improve. But also I'm going to take the initiative to go back to areas that I think I haven't done a good enough job on and fix them. And what I hope is that it inspires other people to do exactly the same thing. I haven't been to this spot in 2 years. In the video linked in the description below, you should be able to see a tailings pile in the middle of the creek that no longer exists. This is such short grass, Gadsy.
Yeah.
Right through these reeds here is spot number 2. Oh, right here, this was it. This is it here. We had the high banker set up just there, and we were discharging our fine tailings that way. Our large tailings were coming back this way, and yeah, this is where we dug a waist deep hole. It was hot as hell that day. It was horrible. I implore you to watch that video. It's actually quite an interesting gold deposit that we're standing on.
And he still hasn't fixed his pump.
Yes, this is where I broke my pump switch and it never got fixed. But yep, right there we had a 1 by 1 by 1 meter hole that went down at least waist deep, and you can't see a single thing there. And all we did in this case again is we pushed our topsoil back in after we backfilled it with all the coarse tailings, and then we put leaf litter over the top. What we're going to show you when we backfill a hole later on is that you need to make sure that you put the soil back in sort of the same order it came out. So you put your coarse tailings in. If you've got fine tailings that can go back in, you push them back in, and then you put your topsoil back on top. Your topsoil contains all the bacteria, the microbes, the bugs, the grubs, the worms, the stuff that actually allows plant matter to grow. And if you don't put it back on top, you end up with a barren patch of soil, unlike what you see behind me, which is growing grass. You might notice Stumpton. The next 2 reclamation sites I want to show you are more recent. So we're going to show you reclamation work we've been doing at the drift mines from our dry washing sessions, and we also want to show you some open holes that people have created since those videos have been made and how we reclamate. What you can see behind me is a pile of dry washer tailings. These dry washer tailings we've simply laid flat, and we did that at the end of summer. Out at the drift mines there is not that much tree cover, as you can see, so it takes a little bit of time for things like organics to come down and land on top of that, and that's going to happen over the next 6 months or so. There was no way of us replacing any leaf litter because we never removed any soil from an area that had leaf litter. This is something that's going to take a little bit of time to start to look natural, but we've done our part. We've made sure that there isn't a pile there and that it's all completely flat. This was a spot I was going to show you, but someone has been here. You can see that they've chewed away all the soil up here. It looks like they've actually tried to do a little bit of reclamation work by spreading out some soil on top of it, and that's pretty admirable. If we follow this trench down, this gutter here is the original spot that we stripped all of that dirt from and laid it out flat that I just showed you. And as you can see, it looks completely natural. Since we've done that, we've had rainstorms and we've got fresh dirt that's come along and covered all of it up. Gadsy's going to do a little bit more reclamation work on this particular spot. This is one of the only pools of water you can get at the drift mines, and several weeks ago we had several inches of water in here. This was my tailings pile. I flattened it out to the water level at the time, but now that the water's dropped, we can flatten it out even more.
I am the Reclamator.
Sometimes to return spots back to what they looked like before you were there, it takes a little bit of time. You've got to do the best job you can initially, and then it's always worth coming back to sites like this to finish the job properly. Now our tailings are nice and flat, and basically what's going to happen is the very next rainstorm that comes along, that's going to be all nice and smooth. And I should mention that puddle is there because it's an old timers mining race. It's literally in a gutter. When we left this last time, we didn't leave any piles of dirt around, did we?
No. Funny that.
Someone's been here and they have dug into the corners here.
And backfilled their holes.
And they haven't backfilled the holes. So these little piles here are what we're talking about. It's really obvious human working. And this is how easy it is to fix. Gadsy, would you like to reclamate?
I'll reclamate.
It took the reclamator 15 seconds to backfill that little hole. That's what you should be doing. By now I like to think that we have shown you guys enough samples of our areas worked over a vast period of time. Yes, there are 100% spots that we have to go back and do a better job. But for now, we're going to go and see if we can't find an open hole at the drift mines, which I'm assuming there will be because some people have been giving away the location of it and inviting people to come in and do damage to the area. It took a little while to find, but we found it. You can see here someone's come along and they've dug out this bedrock trench that was used by the old timers as a water race, and they've left all the soil here so they could probably use that water for panning. Either that, or they were trying to find the bedrock to access a pay layer. Either way, the hole's open, and this is how we would fix it. The hardest part is, it looks like we're left with most of the topsoil that has the grass and the moss on it, and we want rock to go into that to fill up the majority of the hole, so this grass can be on top and do its thing. What lower soil remained, we put in the hole first. We then scavenged several larger rocks to help hold that soil in place before taking all of the moss and the ground cover that was originally thrown up on that bank and placing it on top. Now, it's not perfect, obviously. It was a big muddy puddle, but that over the next couple of weeks is going to start to reform into solid ground. Things like moss take an incredibly long time to grow, so if this hole was left open, there's a really good chance that it would have taken years to return to a natural state, whereas in this case it should only take a couple of months. Shovel doggers don't learn, do they? Now we're walking out and we found yet another pile of crud. Like, it's literally next to a drain that they could put in, or they could put it right back in the hole that they bloody dug. That kind of shows you the integrity of the person, eh? They're like too lazy to even take out some tally-ho papers that they leave lying on the ground. Oh, and a filter. Don't worry, we'll pick it up for you, buddy. We'll pick it up for you this time. But next time it's on you, yeah? I know this video is slightly out of the ordinary to what I normally do on gold prospecting, but this is just as an integral part of gold prospecting as being able to read a river. Hopefully this video has inspired you guys to get out there and not only find gold, but return the bush to its natural state. That is going to help keep these national and state parks open for future generations to come and people to be able to participate in the fantastic hobby that is gold prospecting.